So far, I have compared walking with the flow of the world and against the flow of the world. Second, I compared fighting the wind, being able to fight sin, but you couldn't do that without help. Yes, I got another story. It's about my Mammaw and I sitting by the tank fishing. Mammaw would help set up my fishing pole to get ready to fish. Mammaw was full of knowledge, and any time she had a chance to teach me, she would. Tried to make it where I would understand. Let's look in Proverbs. Let's look in Proverbs 22, verse 6. As Proverbs 22, verse 6. And it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Mammaw reeled in her first fish, one, she said, and put it in the basket. About a minute or two later, Mammaw said two. I looked at Mammaw in wonder, confused. Look, why is she counting her fish? After another 2 or 3 minutes, Mammaw caught another fish. But this time she threw it back in the water. One, she said. I was like, thinking in my mind, she should have been on 3 or 4. But I still kept my mouth shut. I was trying to understand. I had already caught 2 fish. So I blurted out, 3! Mammaw looked over at me while I was very proud of myself. I want to look at 1 Peter 5. That's 1 Peter 5, verses 5 through 7. That's 1 Peter 5, verses 5 through 7. And it says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you, but subject one to another, and be clothed with humility, for God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace unto the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Mammaw looked at me and asked, why did you start counting your fish? I replied, because I want to be like you. Mammaw smiled and said, Daniel, you are catching fish. Daniel, catching fish, you have been taught this. Some fish you will save, some you will throw back so they can grow. Let's look at Hebrews. Let's look at Hebrews verses 12 through 14. Hebrews 5 verses 12 through 14. And it says, for when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk, and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Mammaw said to me, when you become a Christian, you become a fisher of men. I was kind of puzzled because I was still young. I was truly confused about what she said. I looked at my pole and wondered, how big of a pole and hook would I need to fit to be a fisher of men? This would hurt to be hooked, but my string will break. That's when she said you need to be a stronger Christian than that string when you try to fish for men. Let's look at Mark. That's Mark 1, verses 16 through 18. That is Mark 1, verses 16 through 18. And it says, now as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, his brothers, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And Jesus said unto them, Come ye after me, and I will make you to become fishers of men. They didn't have to use a hook. They used the Word of God. We have the Bible. Verse 18, and straightway they forsook their nets and followed him. Let's look in Luke 5, verse 10. And we're going to start towards the bottom where Jesus is talking. Close to the bottom, if you have red letter, you'll see it. It says, Fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. As I was looking at my pole, Mammaw explained what she was saying. You will not catch people with a hook and a pole. Mammaw said, you will catch people by the way you live, and then you'll have to teach them. Let's look at 1 Timothy. That is 1 Timothy 4, verses 11 through 12. That's 1 Timothy 4, verses 11 and 12. These things command and teach. Let no man despise thy youth, but let be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, and purity. Let's look at Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16. As Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16. And I think about Mammaw every time I read this. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. What does it say in verse 16? Let your light so shine before men that glorify your Father which is in heaven. And one example I want to look at is Job. Job 1, verses 20 through 22. That is Job 1, verses 20 through 22. He had everything taken away from him. Almost everything. But here's what it says he did. Then Job arose and rent his mantle. What does mantle mean? It means robe, a garment worn over a tunic by men of rank. Let's read on. And shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked I shall return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job, what does it say right here? He sinned not, nor did he charge God foolishly. Let's look at this and remember, I know my kids get tired of my stories, but they mean something. Especially whenever you use the word to try to get the word across. My Mammaw was very wealthy in the Bible. And she would tell us stories and make it where us as kids could understand. If you need the prayers of the church, or you've fallen away or need to be baptized, please come forward as we stand and sing.